What's good, guys? Welcome back. We have a pretty exciting one for you guys today. The most lethal Formula One circuit of all time. So we are finna check it. We are finna see what's on. As always, don't forget to like the video and sub as well, boys and girls. Daily fuel, all credit goes to him, big time. Now, if I'm correct, I think this is about that German track, the Nürburgring, the Nürburgring. You know me, I butchered it, but I think it's gonna be about that track. So I'm pretty excited to see more about this track, even though it may be not great to like look at and like just the bad history behind it. It's part of F1 history, unfortunately. So we are going to check it out. I mean, we gotta see what's on. As always, don't forget to like the video and sub as well. I think I said that twice. Without further ado, let's get started with the video.
From terrifying crashes and one of the best drivers to ever hit the sport almost burning alive to literal deaths, the track nicknamed Green Hell has ever since its inception shown everyone why it lives up to its moniker. Once you get behind the wheel on this circuit, there's no guarantee you'll make it out alive. In fact, its death toll is nothing short of alarming, with a reported 79 deaths involving racers, race officials, test drivers, and even a spectator. Construction on the Nürburgring started in 1923, up in the German Eifel Mountains. It was a bit of a project to help folks who were out of work at the time. Why, you ask? Well, world wars will do that to you.
Yeah.
By 1927, the whole thing was finally up and running, boasting 3 different loops. You had the Südschleife, a 4.8-mile stretch, then there was the Start- und Zielschleife, a shorter 1.39-mile loop for starting and finishing, and of course the infamous, and not to mention deadly, Nordschleife, which was a whopping 14.17 miles long and known all over the place. The years between 1930 and 1934 weren't exactly a walk in the park for the Nürburgring. The whole economic mess going on meant that car companies, sponsors, and the public were keeping their distance from anything that wasn't a solid return on investment. So after another little war that started in 1939 and ended in 1945, they kicked off racing again in 1947 on the Nürburgring, and for the most part, things were okay. There were only 11 fatal accidents at the track up until 1950.
So I am assuming everybody just saw that, right? A freaking flying car. Now, assuming everybody's just driving, because I don't think they noticed that. And you guys know back then it was hard to like spread word over like incident stuff like that compared to now. But holy shit. Okay.
Yep, only 11. Those are rookie numbers when you consider what happened in the decades that followed. Most of these accidents were, sadly enough, very avoidable. A severe lack of safety barriers effectively meant that should a driver even make the slightest error, that'd be a good chance they'd end up crashing into a tree. From 1951 to 1975, the German Grand Prix happened at the Nürburgring a whopping 22 times, so everyone for the most part seemed to like the track. Most of these races happened at the Nordschleife, except for the one time they decided to give the Südschleife a go in 1960. During this time, there were 4 fatal accidents on track involving Formula One drivers, all 4 on the Nordschleife, and 36 fatal accidents in total across 3 track configurations. To make matters worse, Günther Schneider, a race official, would also lose his life at the 1963 German Grand Prix. But what exactly is it that makes the track so dangerous? The Nordschleife showcases remarkable elevation changes, spanning an impressive 300 meters between its lowest and highest points. This gradient shift isn't gradual, it's abrupt and sudden. Across the track, there are multiple areas where cars can literally catch airtime due to this rapid elevation alteration. And you know, you don't want to go flying off in cars that can go well over 200 miles per hour. The Foxhole section of the track also stands out as one of the most challenging parts of the Nürburgring. This stretch comprises 5 sweeping corners taken at full throttle. The complexity arises at the last corner, where the track plunges into a deep downhill descent followed immediately by a steep ascent. The G-forces experienced here surpass those encountered on typical tracks, often leading to errors as some drivers brake at the base, disrupting the car's balance and frequently resulting in happy misadventures into the barriers.
That's probably the worst time to ever drive at the track is at night. Whoever authorized to drive this at night, you're foolish. You're crazy. You're foolishness, bro. Who? Ooh. Jesus, man. That's scary. That's scary. And that downhill turn, these cars are freaking flying in the air like freaking Superman. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, we're getting airtime like, you know, we like skateboarding. Wrong sport, bro. The track just made
Another nerve-wracking elevation-related passage lies near the Nordschleifer's conclusion, within the Flanksgarten section. Yes, I actually spent a solid 10 minutes trying to pronounce that. With a staggering total of 154 corners, sometimes even 170 in older versions, the Nordschleife comprises of an unhealthy amount of blind corners, constituting about 90% of the turns. A particularly treacherous corner, Kallenhard, approximately 5 miles into the track, has a deceivingly late apex that tightens towards the end, defying drivers' expectations. Unlike conventional racetracks, the Nürburgring boasted very few corners with runoff areas, and to make matters worse, the Nordschleife also had hardly any safety barriers or measures, so if you made a mistake, you would have to pray to whichever god you believe in for salvation. Following the fatal accident of Pierce Courage at Zandvoort in 1970, Formula One drivers even vowed during the French Grand Prix to refuse to compete at the Nürburgring unless significant alterations were made. Feeling the pressure from the drivers, the track officials decided to undertake extensive work to enhance the safety of the track in 1971. They installed safety fences, crash barriers, and emergency lanes throughout the track, but alas, even with those improvements, a disaster would strike in 1976. Niki Lauda, the Formula One champ at the time, was all set to keep his title in the bag. He'd won 4 Grand Prix races already that year, and his main rival, James Hunt, had only taken 3. Or at least that's what everyone thought, until later that year when they found out James Hunt got disqualified for messing around with his car's tech during a race. So Niki Lauda even ended up with the British Grand Prix victory.
What are your tactics going to be tomorrow? Cheat at the start.
Now to see
James Hunt.
Seal the deal, Lauda needed to clinch the German Grand Prix on our beloved, treacherous little Nürburgring track. But even before the race, drivers were giving bombastic side-eye to the safety of the circuit. Many of them had rightfully looked up the list of fatalities on Wikipedia and gone, what the heck? I don't want to die. But the race still went ahead. During the race, Lauda would end up spinning out on a spot called Bergwerk, a tricky left-hand curve, and smashing into the barriers with his car bursting into flames. Lauda was in bad shape and had to be rushed to the hospital. Thankfully though, Lauda survived, although he got some gnarly burns on his head. In Formula One at least, there would be no more deaths at the Nürburgring following Lauda's terrifying crash. In other categories of the sport, however, there would be 29 more deaths, including Andy Gurman's horrifying death in the spectators' grandstand during the 2015 VLN Endurance Championship. After the Lauda incident happened, people started seriously speaking up about the safety at Nürburgring. So as the 1980s rolled in, they made a bold move. They decided to build a brand spanking new Grand Prix circuit that was a whole lot safer for Formula One action. Meanwhile, the German Grand Prix had to pack its bags and move to Hockenheim.
Okay, now my thing is this, that I've always said this about this track, but you tell me nobody knows this like a year or so before? Like, why did it take this death? I mean, this incident regarding Niki Lauda to like really like go into it. Like we had people dying before Niki Lauda's like horrific incident, and like that was the final straw. Like we should have been new that like we should have been new to change the track. Like people should have been new to like no, like let's not race here. So thank God we know we have changed to Hockenheim, but still, bro, how people were just driving on this track knowing like the deaths and all that is mind-boggling to me.
1985, the German Grand Prix made a triumphant return to the new Nürburgring, only to just go back to Hockenheim a year later.
Exactly.
This new track, which opened in 1984, was given the moniker GP Strecke, literally meaning Grand Prix course. And if you think that's boring, wait until you find out about the track. The highest standards of safety were used in its construction, such as long runoff zones, gravel traps, and safety barriers. Some spectators who were relegated to the grandstands that were now further away felt the track was unworthy of being called the Nürburgring.
You are unworthy of these realms, unworthy of your title!
And instead gave it names like Eifelring, Ersattring, and the Grüne Ring. There weren't many places to pass, as was the case with many older circuits, so the racing wasn't exactly thrilling by any stretch of the imagination. Despite that though, the Nürburgring had to twiddle its thumbs until 1996 for another Formula 1 race, where it would be added back to the calendar under the pretense of the European Grand Prix. Seriously, that must have stung a little. Just like it stings me to see you haven't subscribed yet. From 1996 to 2006, playing whack-a-mole with Hockenheim and the Nürburgring became an annual gig, with a brief name change to the Luxembourg Grand Prix in 97 and 98. Don't ask me why. In 2007, the folks at Hockenheim and the Nürburgring put their heads together and decided to share the burden of the German Grand Prix by taking turns hosting it. The FIA was all like,
I mean, it's alright, like...
In 2007, Nürburgring hosted it, but due to some naming confusion, it went down as the European Grand Prix that year. In 2014 though, the new owners of the Nürburgring couldn't lock down a deal to keep hosting the German Grand Prix in odd-numbered years, so 2015 and 2017 became a no-go. And yet the troupe would return in July 2020. After a 7-year hiatus, they announced that the track was finally getting its official Formula 1 Grand Prix status again. The event was set for October 9th to 11th, 2020, and they named it the Eifel Grand Prix in a nod to the nearby mountains. This was like the 4th name change for the venue, having hosted races as the German, European, and Luxembourg Grand Prix before. It would be here that a certain Lewis Hamilton would tie national hero Michael Schumacher's win record. Now, the Nürburgring has made a sneaky return on the odd occasion, and the demand for it has been none the lesser. So where is it? Why isn't it on the calendar? You'd think with the likes of Mercedes and even Audi in the mix, the German Grand Prix would be a no-brainer, right? Well, not quite. You see, Stefano Domenicali, the big cheese of F1, spilled the beans in an interview with German Spiegel. He basically said, if anyone wants a German GP, it's me. I just don't see any representatives in Germany who want to sit down with us and make a constructive suggestion. So yeah, looks like not only are the Nürburgring owners not interested in hosting an F1 race anytime soon, they're also very likely to be outmuscled financially by the likes of Vegas, Losail, Jeddah, and even potentially Kyalami. And if that isn't enough, since F1 is owned by Liberty Media, it's also making a serious pivot away from continental Europe and setting up shop in the US and Middle East. If you were hoping for the Nürburgring to make...
No way. Hopefully, no, because that's history. Like the British GP, Dutch GP, French GP, all that. Like those are like historical tracks, like especially Silverstone. So like them trying to move away from all that for like the States. First thing first. Not every race here in the States we're going to F1 is great. Like Miami's cool. Vegas, like the whole scenery and stuff like that was cool. I didn't think the race was that well. The Texas GP is pretty cool. There's like the vibe, stuff like that. But like, that's crazy. But it's weird as well. Like no German reps want to like help it. I guess like help it out. The funny I get because obviously Vegas has a race now. You know, like they probably outbid it them for like a spot on like the calendar. But where are the German GP, like where are the German like reps at? Like can we let's y'all bring it back. Let's y'all do our job. You know what I mean? Let's y'all do our job. German GP. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. As always, crazy. The Nürburgring track. Just hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.